Although the simple selectors we've looked at are powerful, the selector syntax allows us to use more complicated selectors and more complex patterns to identify elements. One example is the descendant selector. The selector we are looking at will apply to paragraph elements that are descendants of, or that is, anywhere inside of a div element. So the target here is the p tag, not the div tag, and the style will only apply to paragraphs inside of a div, anywhere inside. The syntax is just two simple selectors separated by white space. There's no comma between div and p, otherwise we'd be building a rule to apply to both div and p elements. Another example is the child selector. This selector here is looking for paragraphs that are direct child elements of a div, so not just anywhere inside of a div, but directly beneath a div. It's the greater than symbol that makes this a child selector. You can also select elements based on any attribute value. So we've selected elements by ID with a £, and elements by class with a dot, but you can also say, like in this example, find me all the images that have an alt attribute of spacer, and then set their padding to 0 pixels. Finally, CSS has the concept of a pseudo-class and pseudo-classes. These are classes that are not explicitly set on an element, but are inherent based on some characteristic of the element. For example, every anchor tag will have a pseudo-class of visited if its href points to a URL that the user has already visited. That's just something that the browser will implicitly do. The anchor tag will have a pseudo-class of link if the user has not visited the URL. So what we're doing here is trying to say, take all the visited URLs and make their color sort of a light gray that will blend them out and make them fade into the background so that the unvisited links will come to the foreground and jump out with some more color. And by the way, yes, the /* green text that you see in these examples, that is a CSS comment, so you can provide comments inside of your CSS file. We're going to make use of some of these more advanced selectors as we move through the rest of the course. You can also visit the CSS specifications on the w3.org website, and from there you can see the list of all the possible selectors that are available, as well as examples of how to use them.